The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the HighLowSports podcast. We appreciate you all for joining us here this Wednesday evening, or if you're listening on one of your favorite places to catch podcasts. Either way, we are glad to hang out here and talk sports with you all on this holiday weekend. A lot of sports festivities going on. Among other things, hopefully you all have your stretchy pants handy. It is DJ, joined as always by my co-host Kelcey. And you know, Kelcey, we're going to need the stretchy pants, not just for Thanksgiving, but for today's episode, because we got a jam-packed one.
Yeah, it's a good thing I live in my stretchy pants because I don't have to go for the emergency stretchy pants, thankfully. I'm already prepared. Is maybe cowboy preparation, however you want to word it. But I'm here. I am ready to go. I am so excited about this episode. One of my favorite episodes we do every year, just because we always have something fun in store.
It's always a little bit of something. You're going to get the sports fix along with a little bit of something else. But you know what? We're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go ahead and get right into the tip-off and get things going. And the tip-off, of course, is brought to you by our good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BellyUpSports. Get yourself $20 off for any of your first-time ticket purchases off SeatGeek. So sporting events, concert tickets, whatever you need, get $20 off your first purchase. And for the tip-off, we're going to roll right into some of the big headlines going into this holiday weekend as well. And I think we'll kind of start with that big one coming out of Tallahassee and Florida State. Jordan Travis, his college career is coming to an end after a gruesome ankle injury. One that I'm even thinking about it, my skin's crawling a little bit as well. Scrambling on the play, just gets caught up in not a hip drop tackle, so everyone can stop that nonsense right now. Just that we're not going to get into that BS because that we both agree that idea is BS. But just an unfortunate twist of the ankle, and Jordan Travis's season is done, and it looks like his college career is done, as he stated as well too. And for Florida State, we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute what that means for their future aspirations, but I will say that's going to be devastating, losing a potential Heisman Trophy, potentially in the running type of guy at your quarterback spot too.
Yeah, like I guess first of all, I mean, you kind of addressed it a little bit. Let's address the giant elephant in the room here. There was nothing wrong with anything that happened to do with the tackle on Jordan Travis. It was a fluke. The man's cleat got stuck underneath him. That's all there is to it. I mean, he was literally going down, started to stumble, trying to catch his own balance, and the foot just happened to be underneath him when he landed. That's all there is to that whole situation. No hip drop tackle, no whatever you want to complain about. There was nothing wrong with that tackle. It was just a tough play. I mean, look, those kids from Northern Alabama were trying to upset number 4 team in the nation. So yeah, there's going to be some hard hits. There's going to be whatever you want to say, but there was nothing really. Technically, Jordan Travis got pushed over at the end of the play. I mean, that's how he went down, unfortunately. But yeah, that's part of why he got injured. So it was a fluke injury. It's something you never wish for or anybody, let alone a kid who has done so much for a program like Jordan Travis has done for Florida State. Because let's not forget, this team was floundering, and I do mean floundering, before he took over as the leader of that team, and really showed his stuff the last 2 years, and made Florida State even a competitive team, let alone a possible playoff team / winner of the ACC potentially. Kind of that next team in line, if you will, for the Clemson spot. But right now with that injury, it sucks for not just Jordan Travis but Florida State, but really, I mean, focusing on Jordan Travis, you were playing yourself into contention to be one of the top 6-7 quarterbacks taken out of this next year's draft, and now with this injury, you're questioning absolutely everything. You know that's your next stop. Your next stop is the draft. So everything is preparing for that. But how many teams are going to reach out and take an opportunity with you with metal plates, screws in this ankle? They haven't seen you probably participate, because I don't know if it'll be back in time for any sort of pre-draft type of routine. And if you are, it's not going to be enough for, like, most people are literally training for the draft today, even though they're still going through their season. So yeah, it's a tough blow to Jordan Travis, a kid who has a lot of aspirations for the next level. Maybe he was good enough, maybe he wasn't. We don't know right now, and I don't know if we will know. And that's kind of the sad part of this whole thing.
I will say, like, before the injury, I think he was looking at maybe a second round, maybe a third round grade, somewhere in that range before the process even started as well. So, like, a good player with a lot of a toolsy kid, if you will, but just have to see a little bit more. I think now with this injury, he might not get picked, or if he does, it's a late flyer for someone who's like, he's pretty much, for lack of better terms, going to get redshirted next year at the NFL level, just because
100%.
Like, he already probably wanted to take some time to learn a little bit, but now with this ankle injury, I don't think he's going to be physically cleared to play until probably a year out, honestly. Well, across the modern science is kind of wild, but at least until preseason, he's not going to be able to do much. So I think this definitely hurts that, but I do see the type of kid and player is. This is the old. This feels like one of those stories because where in like 2 years he takes over, someone gets hurt and never looks back. It's like, oh yeah, I remember Jordan Travis. He was cooking back in the day or something like that. So like this will be one of those where the dudes sit around and just name out players they watched in college, but this time it'll be a situation where I think it's when he takes over in the NFL. It's like, oh yeah, he was that dude, and then they know.
Yeah, and here's the thing: in an era where we have Mr. Irrelevant as a starting quarterback, we have a 4th-round draft pick in Dakota Prescott leading America's team. One of the goats of all goats is a late draft pick in Tom Brady. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him being a late to maybe undrafted type of player if he gets his opportunity. I think this is the big test, right? This is every player has a big test in their career. Well, how do you overcome adversity? I look at Cam Newton. His adversity being the whole situation in Florida, coming back from Blinn College. The dude could have just packed it in and ended up at a mid-level school. He instead blows it up in Blinn College, comes back, ends up at Auburn of all places, and despite the controversy of where he would end up at later on. And not just leads his team to a Heisman or leads his team to a national championship. He wins a Heisman, ends up number 1 all draft pick, rookie of the year. All these conversations happen because of one piece of adversity. And Jordan Travis, while he's dealt with a lot at this time in Florida State, this is his one big piece of adversity he's had to deal with. So we'll see how he comes back. I think knowing what you know for Jordan Travis, this is going to be something that's just another stepping stone. He's going to come back stronger. It's just a matter of when he comes back. Does he get a fair opportunity at the end of the day? And let's just say the NFL is not exactly known for giving fair opportunities, but they are known for comeback stories. So this is kind of one or the other at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up at, where this comes back. Like I said, if he gets a fair shot or not.
In the NFL, if you get an inch, you got to find a way to take a mile and make it count. We'll see if he can definitely do that. But that's that. We're looking into the future there. Now we got to look into the present. As Florida State still undefeated, still going to be in the ACC championship game, but they lose their spot in the top 4 for the college football playoff, bumping down to number 5 as UW University of Washington moves up to number 4. So top 5, what we're looking at is the same characters. That's the only real change. Is I believe Georgia is at 1, Ohio State's at 2, Michigan's at 3, Washington's at 4, if I'm not mistaken. So what we're looking at is the right cast characters with Oregon just on the outside looking in at number 6 as well. So I stand by it. I still think UW needs to be 2 or 3. I think you need to put. I don't think they should be 4. I don't think they should just crept in. I know it was a tough game in Corvallis against Oregon State. Every game in Corvallis against Oregon State is tough, regardless of who you are. By the way, that was the 11th ranked team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 of the teams above them have not played it. They've played 1 ranked team if you are Michigan, and that was a 15th ranked Penn State, I think it was, 17th, something like that. Your only ranked game of the year. If you're Ohio State, you had 2 of them. One was number 7 Penn State at the time. So that's a quality notch. And then Notre Dame, who was top 10, I believe. I think number 10 at the time, something like that. Georgia has, I think, 2 as well, if I'm not mistaken. Because I know one of them was Missouri. I think they had one other one. It's eluding me who they had for ranked wins off the top of my head. But either way, what was that?
So far this season, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, but I know they have at least Missouri, who was ranked number 10 at the time, too. And so I don't know how Washington still just barely creeps in number 4 because of Jordan Travis's injury, which is just amazing to me. You have number 11 on your docket. You had number 6 on the docket, who's number 6 when you beat them, and is still number 6.
Georgia's had 3 top 25 wins.
Okay, cool. So
Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee.
So I think that makes our case too, where even our very first one, the first poll came out, Georgia should have remained at 1. Then moving in general is dumb. Washington should be 2 or 3. I'm going to say throw Ohio State at 2 or 3, the opposite one. However you want to split it, I do whatever. And then number 4, I think we're in agreement right now, is probably the other one with that Jordan Travis injury. Florida State kind of slides out of there, unfortunately, as well. But then again, if they win the ACC and they beat Louisville in that ACC championship game, that brings a whole nother conversation forward. So I think this kind of shakes things up depending on what we see at championship weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think, okay, you look at the top 5, I have the same complaint. Why is it Ohio State and Michigan ahead of everybody else? Both of them, specifically. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to put one ahead, put Ohio State ahead, put Michigan at number 5. I'm still comfortable with that. Florida State, while, yes, you lose Jordan Travis, I mean, you're still undefeated in one of the toughest conferences top to bottom. While Clemson is not the powerhouse it once was, it has still proven it is better than most ACC or most Big Ten schools. Still proven better than Notre Dame. Making Notre Dame's victory, or the victory over Notre Dame, or any victory over Notre Dame, if you're a team with a victory over Notre Dame, look worse. So yeah, I look at Florida State. We'll see what Rodemaker can do as the guy that's stepping in for Jordan Travis. But I think keeping Florida State at 4 would have been I'd been okay with. I get putting them at 5. Washington should have never had to jump them to begin with. But yeah, I still don't like Ohio State, Michigan back to back in this.
Okay.
I still think it needs to be one of them at 3, the other one at 6, or the other one at 5, with the opportunity to move in. Just like I believe Washington should have been 2, Oregon should have been 6, with the opportunity to move in if they end up winning the title game. That just should be how it is. I don't get putting them back to back, because now you leave the opportunity for a 21-17 game in the Big House to result in an Ohio State and Michigan team both making the playoffs just because at the end of the day.
Just for prestige worldwide at this point, it seems like. But I'll also add on to that as well. Florida State does have arguably the best win of those top 5 teams when they beat number 5 LSU to kick off the season as well. Obviously, LSU has dropped a little bit to, I think, 15 with a couple of losses, but Jaden Daniels arguably could be the Heisman Trophy frontrunner if LSU is a little bit better. And you got 2 1,000-yard receivers who are probably first-round NFL picks. Like, that was no slouch team that they beat to open up the season. So that's a big win. Maybe Washington over Oregon because of where they're at now. You can give the nod to, but every other ranked win in the top 5, that might be the second best one.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously look at Washington. That win over Oregon being the number 1 so far. But yeah, I think Florida State over what is most people's current front runner in Heisman in Jaden Daniels. You mentioned it. I still don't agree with him being a number 1 leader in the Heisman race, but I digress.
He can go to New York, but he should not be hoisting it.
Absolutely. I think right now you need to be looking at Michael Penix and Bo Nix as your 2 favorites.
Which means neither one will get invited, because what makes sense never seems to work out. But
not at all. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see how that whole thing shakes out. But as far as the top 5 go, again, the teams are right. The order's wrong. This is kind of the storybook of every ranking since 2000. I mean, heck, you can go back to 1999 with Oregon being a co-national champion, or whatever it was, 98 with the BCS era. So
yeah,
like Joey Harrington being on the side of a freaking building for a campaign or for a Heisman campaign thing, and he not even that good. So I digress, but it's been the storybook for forever. Right teams, wrong order. It just continues. It doesn't surprise me.
My concern is that we see some tomfoolery once these championship games play out. Like you mentioned, that one with 21-17 with those 2 teams. If Alabama beats Georgia, what are they going to do there? If Oregon beats Washington, are they both going to get shafted? And then what happens if Texas wins the Big 12? Where does that put them in the conversation with that win over Alabama? Like, there's a lot of mess that get sorted out here.
You have a team like Iowa sitting here that's about to play the game in the Big House determines who Iowa plays. Do they play Michigan? Do they play Ohio State?
Who Iowa gets clapped by.
Yeah, but okay, so it's a 21-17 game in the Big House. Whichever team wins, that team goes on to conveniently lose to Iowa. Guess what? You're back in the same conundrum where you have a 1-loss Big 12 team in Michigan and a 1-loss Big 12 team in Ohio State. One's lost to the other, but the other one lost to an Iowa. Where, how do you rank that? And the fact it's going to be, they're both going to be still in the top 4 because of where the current rankings are. You can't just push them out. And this is the problem with always having these rankings this way, is by putting a ranking out there, you now determine the future possibility for the next 2 weeks. The odds of a team dropping out from the top 5 because of a bad loss is a possibility. Slim. Doesn't really happen. I mean, if Alabama were in the top 5, they lost to Auburn this week, then obviously, yes, they drop. That should be an obvious. The problem with most of these teams are we're getting to the last game and then the championship game, and the championship game is against a team that's also in that top 5, or against a team that's nowhere in the top 5, but the team that's going to the game from the top 5 is undefeated, and the other team sitting from their division or conference is right there with 1 loss in the top 5 still. And well, now you're in a conundrum. So I don't like it. I'll never have liked these official polls being the way they are. Any man-made poll, any computer-made poll, I just don't trust. It really just needs. I mean, honestly, you need to go to the FCS system and look at how they do their rankings. I mean,
Right.
it's
So
a lot more balanced and a lot more fair at the end of the day.
this year seems about as clear as day. Pac-12 championship should get a spot. SEC championship should get a spot. Big Ten champion should get a spot. Even if somehow Iowa pulls off that upset, heck, throw them in there at that point. They earned it. Then that fourth spot could be kind of the quote unquote wild card where like, okay, the man-made poll can figure that one out, whether it's like Big 12 champion Texas or if you throw in like one loss Georgia or something like that. For example, if Alabama slips by, I'm like, we'll give me the third one a wild card, but those three conference championships should get, or if Florida State does win the ACC, then they obviously get that fourth spot. But
yeah, and look, and there's a team out there that has an argument to say that they have a right to be here. There's two teams actually.
there's Louisville.
I'd also say they have a right to be in this playoff conversation, and that's because they're a one-loss team that's played against a bunch of SEC caliber SEC teams. Is a referee blown call short of being undefeated in Tulane, and you also have the undefeated Liberty team just sitting there, just waiting in like the 18 to 24 range. And these teams, while they're not a Power 5 team, do deserve a conversation. If we're going to be all's fair in the bowl era, then we should be considering these teams as possible placements. I mean, that's just if you're considering fair, because that's what this entire playoff situation should have been. It is supposed to create a more fair environment, not a Alabama / Ohio State / Michigan invitational. That you got to consider them. Well, I mean, right now in the 4-team playoff, you can't do that. So just, bring on the 12-team playoff already. I'm tired of waiting for it. Just immediate injunction, put 12 teams in the playoff. You get your way. You get your Alabamas, you get your Ohio States. You might even get an Oklahoma in the top 12 to be in a playoff. But then you also get a Tulane, you get a Liberty. You might even get James Madison in there.
You get the ways of the people who want Cincinnati and those other fun schools from that couple of years. Plus, you get your blue blood diehards. I like the idea. Make it the FCS playoffs after rivalry week. Screw the conference championship at that point. Whoever has the best record, give it to them at that point. At the end of it, don't make it like they used to do with the Big Ten, where it's just who had the best record at the end of it, and then see it have a 24-team playoff at that point. Where and then
they could eliminate the week in between week 10 and 12, like whatever week 11 is, whatever it's considered. It's not rivalry week because rivalry week is 12. Whatever week 11 is considered, just throw that away because that's most teams' gimme game. Just throw it. Yeah, we don't need a get right game in week 11. Just toss it, trash it, move the season up a week. I would be happier to not have an Iron Bowl right after Thanksgiving. One of my favorite holidays is just gets destroyed by the fact that now 2 days later I have to worry about Alabama every year. I don't know. I know they do it because they get more butts in the seats, more people watching. It's a money thing, but screw it. I'd rather them be in a playoff situation at that point in time, possibly.
Sacrifice a regular season game, get a full flushed out playoffs. Do the FCS one too, where a bunch of teams get a bye if they finish. Like maybe the conference championship winners get a bye. Find a way to finish. There's a way to do it. Find a way to make it happen. But speaking of which, we did mention it too. Rivalry week is coming up in just a handful of days too. You mentioned Auburn, Alabama. Crazier things have happened, but I think we're both kind of in agreement. It would take Hugh Freeze would have to be in his bag for this one. He'd have to be deep in his bag.
I refuse to accept this. It's an Alabama easy win.
Like we both are in agreement. The question is, does Alabama cover?
No, I am not. I am not agreeing. I think Auburn actually is going to win this one.
Oh, you did? I thought you were saying Alabama's an easy win. Okay.
No, there's no chance. No, screw that.
So you say
so here's the thing. Alabama never has an easy game at Jordan Hare.
Right, so
they have never won at Jordan Hare by more than 2 touchdowns. Ever.
Freeze is in the bag. Okay.
And Auburn has a winning record at Jordan Hare. Hugh Freeze, fun fact for you, against Nick Saban total is a 2-3 coach. Against Nick Saban at Alabama, he's a 2-1 coach. Didn't know that. I found that the other day. That was pretty cool. The odds are forever in Auburn's favor. They just had a fluky loss to New Mexico State. It is what it is. If you saw us on the corner booth, Kevin and I, Kevin is a diehard Alabama fan. He's even concerned about this one because there's something fluky that happens at Auburn every time these two play. It is built on an Indian Burial Ground. It's a widely known I won't say fact because it's not a fact. It's a rumor. But the weird things happen in that stadium on Saturdays right after Thanksgiving. And I mean, we've seen miracles. We've seen kick sixes. We've seen absolutely any fluky situation you could possibly imagine happen outside of, I don't know. No, I mean, the band hasn't been on the field yet. That's the only thing that,
don't rule it out. It could happen this year.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your shtick.
like the band has to jump over hedges to get out on the field. So that might be the issue. I don't know if that'll happen.
Band geeks could be athletes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or they might have.
They go over hedges, and then it's if they go right over the hedges, it's about a 12-foot fall. So I don't think
they don't have to be smart athletes.
Yeah, we've also seen a mascot bite somebody in the stadium because Uga bit an Auburn player in Jordan Hare. So no, but I mean, crazy things do happen in this stadium. I do think Auburn has a chance to win. It's going to be a close game no matter what. Kevin liked to say it went into overtime. I don't think it's going to go that crazy, but I do think it's going to come down to a field goal at the very end of it. And the irony of it all, Auburn's kicker just happens to be the brother of Evan McPherson for the Bengals. So,
all right, so there will be a wheelbarrow on the sideline for when it's time to kick that game-winning field goal. I will say, though,
hopefully there's no mid halftime performance by Rihanna. We should be good if there isn't.
I don't blame him, honestly, if there was. But what I will add to that is if they pull this off, you have to get a Auburn visor and wear it next week on the show like a Hugh Freeze.
Done. If they pull this off, I might get an Auburn tattoo right here, dead center of my chest, just so I could pull my shirt like this, and it'd be an Auburn logo.
Well, let me just hit record, download, and save. So a visor and a tat.
I might. The word "might" did preface that statement.
All right, so it's either the visor or the tattoo. One of them will be here next Wednesday. So those of you tuning in,
oh no, I can't speed up Fanatics. Fanatics takes its own time.
Oh, I will pay for the expedited shipping. Like I will get that done.
Dog, I tried to pay for expedited shipping on my last order, and they didn't even give me the option.
I will hand deliver it. Then I will find a way. But before we get out of the tip off here, we do have a couple more games here. We'll go through these next ones quickly because I know you're kind of itching for that main event. So we'll go with the game. Ohio State, Michigan. You're leaning Michigan. I'm leaning Ohio State. Sound about right?
Yep. Yeah, I think Michigan has an opportunity here. I don't rule out teams just because their head coach is suspended. I feel like it gives an unfair advantage to the team with a head coach suspended because, well, for some reason, players just play harder this way. If they like the head coach. If they like the head coach is the big stipulation here, and it does feel like Michigan players unnecessarily like Jim Harbaugh.
I will agree with you. The Jim Harbaugh narrative is absolutely stupid, and it has absolutely no factor on this game in a negative way. If anything, it will have the positive factor, like you mentioned. I just think Ohio State, for the first time in the Ryan Day era, is actually playing defense for a change, and I think that can make just enough of a difference. The last couple of years, their defense was dog poop, as we saw in this game. So I think their defense will make just enough of a difference in that 21-17 BS game that it will be. And I think they have a few more offensive playmakers. I think it'll be close. It'll be ugly. We'll both be pissed the whole time. At the end of it, we'll be like, is this your king? This is who you're sending to the college football playoff? But I think
the king of 32 teams in a conference.
Yeah, exactly. And with 29 tomato cans, like either way, I digress. But yeah. I think that, so yeah, we'll see that. Of course, the underrated one that most people don't ever pay attention to, but actually has a few extra eyes on it, we got the Apple Cup, one of our OG favorites, Washington taking on Washington State, which, to be fair, it hasn't been much of a rivalry as Washington has dominated, I think, 20 of the last 21 or something ridiculous like that. Do we think Wazoo pulls off the upset, or are we thinking Michael Penix's squad will hold on?
Wazoo's done some weird things this year. They are about as hot and cold as it gets. You just don't know what they're going to do. I do think this one. I think that they were too hot too recently, so I think this is the time they cool off. I also think Wazoo's defense is extremely not Wazoo, but Washington's defense, UW's defense is extremely underrated. And people are not talking about it. And I think this is the time they're going to see it if they actually watch the Apple Cup. I mean, you and I, if you guys remember a few years ago, we did our best rivalries. That was one of them. There's also another game that's played this week that was another one of those team rivalries that we mentioned, where they're usually underrated, and understandably so for a lot of reasons. But Wazoo always does play tough. I'm not concerned about the offense for either team. I am strictly concerned with the defenses. But more importantly, UW's defense takes the ball away, and if they can show up and take the ball away, I'm sorry, Wazoo, but this might be a dog walking at the end of the day.
I know UW's defense can get had. I think it's a lot of the bend in but don't break. But they, as you mentioned, they get the takeaways, and sometimes they can stingy up when needed, which I think is People look too much into what Bo Nix and Caleb Williams did to those defenses. Good luck finding two better college quarterbacks outside those two besides Michael Penix.
Okay, so number 3 and number 4 in the Heisman race this year.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's like good luck. And I guess what Utah did, Utah's just always flukily good against the top ranked teams for the most part too. So, and then the last one we'll take a quick look at. We're going to go to we're going to head right on over to the West Coast where we got Oregon taking on Oregon State, where normally this is a similar scenario. Normally it's kind of Oregon that you feel comfortable with, but Oregon State is underratedly good this year, was just ranked number 11, and kind of in the same scenario. If Oregon's not careful and looking ahead to that Pac-12 championship game, they could get got here by their old rivals from Corvallis.
Yeah, we talked about this on Jared's show. The big decision for me of who wins this game comes down to where it's being played. Autzen Stadium is a beast of a stadium to play in. Just did a little more research on it, just because I felt a little like I didn't have enough details on it, because there is something weird about Autzen Stadium, and it is the fact the way it's built, it actually carries more ability to retain audio or retain noise than any other college stadium. It actually is the world record holder for loudest college stadium in America. Doesn't have the same amount of seats as everybody else, but those 38,000 people that fit in Autzen Stadium, the way the stadium is built, it's called the Autzen Bounce, is actually the scientific term for the audio retainment abilities of that stadium. And mixed with the trees that are on the outside, it actually makes for the loudest environment in college football. And yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing to do. You go from Research Stadium in Corvallis, which is a very open stadium, very new age stadium, to Autzen Stadium to play a bunch of freaks. Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. And I think Oregon, while they have a history of looking forward to games, I think this team specifically they've already done the looking forward to game, and got beat by Washington pretty handily. I think this is going to be the one that we're just like, oh yeah, Oregon for real. Bo Nix is going to, I think this is where Bo Nix solidifies his Heisman Trophy right now, personally. But I think you have to solidify it in a game like this, realistically. So yeah, give me Oregon in this one. It's gonna be a tight one, but I do think Bo Nix pulls it off at the end of the day.
I agree. I think Oregon's defense is going to be a bit of the difference maker here. I think Bo Nix will score his points. Oregon State, I think, is just going to have a lot more. It's going to be more difficult for them. They'll score, but it's going to be harder, if that makes sense. Like Oregon's 21 is going to be like Bo Nix, just like cruising. Where Oregon State's is going to be ripping teeth out with butter knives. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for them.
It's going to be like listening to somebody try to pronounce DJ Uiagalelei's name the first time correctly, and then you're just going to keep hearing him, blah, 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 and then eventually they'll say it right, and then they'll finally score. And that's what's Oregon State's offense. Oregon State's offense is not necessarily the most high-powered offense either. Very much a control-type offense. So, yeah, that's going to play a part in this.
Oregon's offense will be spelling TJ. Oregon State's will be spelling Hujmanzada. That'll be the difference at that point. I think is how it'll be. Like it'll get done, but it ain't gonna be easy. So those will be what we have for Rivalry Week. Rounding out the tip off, the last quick thing we'll touch base on is former All-Pro linebacker Shaquille Leonard getting released by the Colts here as well too after 6 years in Indy. And it sucks to get released in Week 11, but it kind of makes sense considering his play on the field and his contract were not equal to each other recently. Those injuries have taken a dent out of him. And at this point, he was getting benched this week too. So I almost feel like at this point, they were almost doing him a solid. Like, you're not going to play for us. The Colts linebackers are one of the few bright spots. Well, yeah, one of the bright spots they have. Quarterback's not one of them, but linebacker is. So now Shaq gets a chance to go somewhere to actually get playing time and maybe work his way back. We'll see, but it kind of makes sense for both seats. It just kind of seemed done at this point too.
Yeah, I mean, this is just writing on the wall at the end of the day, right? It feels like, I don't know. It just feels like it was a matter of time. And it sucks because we're talking about one of the most freakish athletes we've seen recently. A guy who was flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're the guy who was flying around the field making plays we hadn't seen since Patrick Willis. And that's part of the problem is he was making plays like Patrick Willis. And Patrick Willis is also another guy who historically had a very underwhelming career as far as injuries go. I mean, he was beat up. It was a toe injury, for God's sake, that took out Patrick Willis. At least Shaquille Leonard gets to say it was his back that took him out, but it's 6 years of high-powered football from him. I say 4 of those 6 years are as top of the game. The last 2, you saw him struggle, and it's tough to watch. And I do hope he lands somewhere and can convert his ability to play into a more sustainable, second half of his career. I just that position, the way he's played his whole life, it's hard to go from 100 miles a minute every second to, okay, I can go 80 now and still be successful if I just play my angles. And playing angles is a completely different story. Um, not everybody can be like Brian Urlacher, who can go from a mile a minute to all of a sudden playing angles and playing well at a 38-year-old clip. It just doesn't happen as a linebacker. So it's tough to see, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Exactly. And you kind of mentioned as well too, the downside to the way he played is he's very much the epitome of a playmaker. He made plays, the forced fumbles, the interceptions. The downside that comes with that is you are a small, undersized linebacker on top of it, sitting at like 220 pounds or so. So when you lose that athleticism and that burst and stuff, you can't just be a run stopping thumper. You don't have the build for that, but that's part. You can't just be stuck in there and just thump on against goal line. And in space, I mean, your boy Zeke was shaking him when they were in Germany. Your boy Zeke was shaking him in the open field several times. I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin of we just can't play you, unfortunately. And his biggest asset was takeaways, forcing turnovers. He hasn't forced one since January 2nd of 2022, I believe it was. I think that was when they played the Raiders at the end of that season. It's been a long time coming, unfortunately. So it makes sense. Best spot for him sounds like the Bears. Former defensive coordinator, the head coach there. They can always. You never know. I think that's a pretty good fit for him as well. Get a chance to get a little bit of it back, and you get to play with Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, two guys that are more of thumpers in their own right as well. So maybe that's something that could work for him.
Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him have a resurgence in the second half of his career. I think he's one of my favorite linebackers to come out recently, and tough to always see somebody like that. I mean, he's nicknamed the Freak for a reason. It's
the maniac, but unfortunately, you take the line out of the maniac. There's only so much you could do. Like back injuries, they'll end a career. They'll slow down a career at warp speed as fast as he took off. But I think that should probably do it here for the tip off. And Kelcey, I've kind of noticed you started to liven up a little bit here. Is it because of the main event coming up, or do you have some pharmaceutical enhancements over there keeping you alive for this coming segment?
Yeah, I don't know about pharmaceutical enhancements, but I do know Magic Mind has been working wonders. If you guys didn't check out last week's episode, we have a new partner here, Magic Mind. I've long time been struggling with keeping awake during the days, staying alert, avoiding the fog, if you will, but most importantly, just staying awake in general. Struggle with it. I don't sleep well. It's just part of who I am. But I've been looking for alternatives. There's only so much energy drinks you can drink during the day before it becomes overwhelming, and you're probably going to run some heart issues. Well, I reached that point finally in my life, so I was looking for alternatives. Magic Mind reached out to us recently, has been providing me with opportunity to test out their product. And if you didn't see it last week, this is what the bottle looks like. Let's see if I get the light to work on it. This was today's bottle, little tiny green drink. Fantastic. I take it alongside what I normally do in the morning. So I drink V8 energy drinks. I take it alongside with the V8 energy drinks just because they're cleaner energy. And what it does is it provides sustained energy balance. So instead of like 4 hours of energy, I get a nice 8. Here I am running off of quite a lot today. Last day before Thanksgiving break for work, and somehow managed to make it through that without sleeping much last night. So it's been helping out a lot. I've been using it for the last, we're going on a week and 10 days. So 10 days total, a little bit shy of 2 weeks. Did a full 14-hour trip to DC and back in one day on it. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was an easy drive, easy experience. It wasn't something like I had to go and soup up a bunch of energy drinks with it. I had an energy drink. I had my V8 energy drink, the sparkling energy drink. I had the Magic Mind, and between that and sunflower seeds, I made it pretty well through the day. And a little bit of water here and there, and called it swell. It's been fantastic. As I mentioned last week, you're looking at things like lion's mane mushrooms in this, matcha, B vitamins, ashwagandha, turmeric, T-theanine, and things for your stress management, for your energy, for cognitive processing. Helps out a lot. Joe Rogan talks about on his podcast as it's not necessarily a nootropic. It's something very similar. Talk about a guy who knows his nootropics and Joe Rogan. I don't think I've heard another man mention it as much as he has. So yeah, definitely check it out. Magic Mind. A link is in our bio here. It is HighLow20 will get you 56% off your subscription for the next 10 days with the code HighLow20. 56% off of a subscription. It gets delivered right to your door from Amazon. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, God, you can't beat that. If anything, I can get half off. We talk about Black Friday sales here. Whew, man, perfect time to be getting that. And if you already have your subscription set up, it is valid for 20% off of a one-time purchase as well. So yeah, definitely check that out. That 30-pack subscription is a beautiful thing. And then yeah, money back guarantee. I cannot reinforce this enough. If you do not believe it, if you do not believe it's working for you, all you have to do is reach out to Magic Mind. They provide a whole little handout with the information on who to reach out to. So be sure to check that out. It is one of the only companies who dabbles in what they dabble in. And the screen drink and the energy supplement, I guess, is the best way to put it. Drink it. Nobody else gives you a money back guarantee. So be sure to check it out. Magic Mind website is magicmind.com/HighLow. HighLow20 is your code to get 56% off your subscription for the next 10 days. So be sure to check that out. I mean, honestly, I cannot complain. This has been an absolutely fantastic partnership with them, and I appreciate them even reaching out to us in the first place. It's been a match made in heaven, if you will.
Absolutely. Definitely try that out. Get yourself nice, wide, and awake without doing a number on yourself as well, too. But this is probably Kelcey's favorite segment of the year. We're going to do. We're going to combine two things that we love. We're going to combine a sports draft and Thanksgiving food. So welcome to the Thanksgiving draft here for the main event. The rules, we're going to be putting together a 5-piece meal here, 5-a-side Thanksgiving dinner draft. And the rules will be as followed. There will be 1 major protein, 2 side dishes, 1 dessert, and then 1 flex, which could be just about anything you want that is non-dessert. So it can't be a dessert, but it could be just about anything else. And Kelcey, I can see, I don't know if that's the Magic Mind or if it's just this topic, but you right now you seem to have lit up like a Christmas tree, even though it's not even time to start celebrating Christmas.
I think we have talked about this every year we've had a Thanksgiving episode. I love Thanksgiving. It is one of my favorite holidays. It's one of the few holidays I've always had positive memories of. I mean, goodness, at one point in time, we had a running joke in our family about shooting peas across the table because it happened one time by accident. Somebody had peas in their mouth and they ended up shooting them out of the nose. We were making people laugh so hard. And since then, it has become a running joke. We still believe that is the world record for pea shooting out of your nose. Unintentional pea shooting out of your nose, but it did fly across a 12-foot table and land right next to my grandma, who was sitting on the opposite end of the table. So, needless to say, it is one of my favorite holidays. Lots of goofy stuff the family gets up to. But yeah, and the food. I mean, God, how many times can you eat like a glutton and not get complained, not be judged? Very few times in a year. So you get 2 times here at the end of the year. You get Thanksgiving, you get Christmas. To me, Thanksgiving is the real meal day. Christmas has its own convoluted meanings. It's very much turned into a Hallmark holiday in a lot of ways. So this is the one I get to celebrate, and I will every single year.
Well, no one's going to stop you from shooting that shot. So what we're going to do is the only other rule we didn't mention is there's no overlap. So if you pick something, I do not get a chance to pick it. It is a true draft in every sense of the word, which means we're going to have to see who shoots and who scores first. So we're going to go ahead and break out this here. We're going to call this the Kelcey coin, if you will. So Kelcey, we're going to have you go ahead and call it. You're going to call it to decide who goes first. If you get it right, you go first. If you get it wrong, I go first. So 3, 2, 1, call it.
Tells.
All right, so it looks like DJ will be going first on this one. So I'm going to begin. I'm going to actually I'm going to go straight for the dessert. I'm going to take pumpkin pie right out of the gate. We're going to go with arguably the one of the more staples that you will find. So we're going to knock out dessert right away. Pumpkin pie, whipped cream optional, depending on who you are and whatever other toppings you want to throw on it. But good old classic pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I feel like we also need to mention this because we talked about this a little bit. There's no duplication, obviously, but there's also no
order. So you can take any position.
There's no order to it, but there's also no, like, I can't take a double layer pumpkin pie because you took a pumpkin pie. Like, I can't even take an alternative version of pumpkin pie, which kills me because it's not even regular pumpkin pie. I love it. It is very much double layer pumpkin pie, which has a cream base and then pumpkin on top. It's a fantastic thing. But that's a heartbreaker that you took that first.
We left a little bit of leeway. Luckily, we didn't say no pies in general. So you could still take another type of pie if there's one. We didn't go too stingent with the rules. So at least there's a little opening there. But I'm gonna go out the banger. I'm gonna grab my quarterback first round and just get it rolling.
All right. Well, at least I get back-to-back picks here. I will take that every day of the week.
Snake order as well too. So so it's gonna go me, you, me, you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start out with the staple. I think the staple of every quality Thanksgiving meal. If your family knows how to cook, they know how to do this well, and that's turkey. None of that dry, grainy, gross turkey No, a high quality, juicy brine 24 hours to 48 hours before the day, thawed out perfectly, cooked, whether it be in a Weber kettle like we cook it in our family, in the oven with a proper brine. Maybe your family deep fries it. Either way, it's a moist, beautiful turkey. The skin is crisp. Ugh, to die for. Um, yeah, I got turkey is my number one draft pick just because I'm heartbroken the pumpkin pie was off the board, so I have to recover here.
All right, so you didn't get the quarterback you wanted, so you're going to protect the quarterback you do get with that big, strong, muscular left tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm protecting him for sure. Now my number 2 pick, I'm going with the only thing in the world that I've yet to experience a bad version of on Thanksgiving dinner. I've yet to experience anybody give me a bad version of this. That's why it's my favorite side item of all time. It's a staple. It's a simple one. I'm gonna include a little um, modifier to it just because it usually comes with it. But that is mashed potatoes and gravy.
Ooh, he's getting that fancy tight end that runs a 4.4 out of there, I see.
Yeah, no, I got to go mashed potatoes and gravy here. I feel like mashed potatoes are just that one thing that no matter what meal you've ever been to, Thanksgiving meal, I don't think anybody's ever screwed up the mashed potatoes. And if they have, I have a lot of questions. But more importantly, why were you even in charge of cooking the potatoes? This is the person you should have asked to bring the solo cups. But look, I'm yet to have anybody mess up the turkey or mess up the mashed potatoes in my life. So that is where I'm going here with my number 2 pick. Maybe I'm just going too easily down the line. But you threw me for a loop with the pumpkin pie, so I'm trying to recover the top end of my draft, and I'll worry about the desserts here later on.
So what I'm hearing too is with the mashed potatoes, I feel like you either make them good or you make them great. There's not a wrong way to make them. No one screws them up. Some people just really make them better.
Worst case scenario, you pull them out of the bag as the little dried bits, and you make them by the box. What it says, you just add a little more butter, and guess what? You have a quality mashed potato still.
Throw a little bit of seasoning on there if you want to be like that. That could work too. You don't need to, but sometimes you could be like that.
Hey, look, you gotta spice things up. But
that's tight end catching with one hand when they could catch you with two. That's all it is.
And then also I throw in gravy because I did have the turkey there, and turkey gravy is one of the best things ever, in my opinion, for Thanksgiving. I don't use it past Thanksgiving. It is quite literally only used that meal. So if there's any leftovers, it just kind of goes in the trash, or we give it to the dogs. But turkey gravy with the mashed potatoes is a fantastic addition.
All right, I like it. So you got that big left tackle, and you got a security blanket tight end. So your quarterback's looking real comfortable right now. We took the quarterback with pumpkin pie out of the gate. Now I'm going back to back since we're in snake order. I want my quarterback to be able to step up into the pocket. You took the big, strong left tackle, so I'm going to take the left guard. I'm going to go with the oven, the properly brined as well for 24 to 36 plus hours. I'm going to go with the chicken, like a rotisserie chicken you make from home, where you get the crispy outside and the juicy inside, where you can kind of have a lot of fun messing with the chicken legs as well too. But we're going to go with the guard since the tackle was taken. We're going to go with ourselves a very properly well done chicken with this one.
Now, just so I'm clear, you're talking not chicken breasts. You're talking the full-on chicken.
The whole thing where you can pry the leg off and eat it like a Viking. Like we're going the full oven thing.
Interesting. I got to be honest. That's a new one for me. I don't really dabble in the whole chickens for Thanksgiving. I like it. That's usually a Christmas meal for me. More of a Christmas idea for a protein. I do like that though. That is a very creative. It's an alternative for those families that cannot cook a turkey. I feel like this is a great alternative. You might be winning this draft. Crap.
I say that as there is a brining chicken about 3 to 5 yards back there in the fridge right now after being properly brined earlier today. So that's gonna be ready to go tomorrow because I don't need a full size turkey for 2.5 people. Like I don't need a chicken.
Well, let's be honest. Brew himself could eat a whole turkey and chicken by himself.
There's a lot of issues that will come with that, including the smell, and that's why he gets the half. Like he could eat it, but we're not letting him do it. We're cutting him off there. It's just we won't get too far into the dog things. Anyone who's been around a dog fully understands. Just picture one at the bottomless pit as a stomach. That's him.
Yes,
and the ability to hurdle over a car for no reason. But I digress. But it was as we kind of talked a little bit about earlier too. I got the guard. I got my quarterback. I want to give him a receiver, but I'm talking about like a receiver that can get open kind of quickly and win jump balls. So we're going to go with stuffing, but not just any stuffing because not everyone likes sausage stuffing. We're going to go with a turkey stuffing. So it's not the turkey like you took, but it's turkey flavor stuffing. Since
that's the best stuffing in the world. I agree wholeheartedly.
So we're going to go with turkey stuffing. if that is allowed and if that's not crossing over the line.
No. I think stuffing in itself is going to be should be turkey flavored, and it should be whatever you're normally putting it inside of. And for the average household, it is turkey flavored stuffing. I don't think very many people stuff a ham, so I think you're good.
And that's what we're going to do.
If you had said sausage stuffing, though, I would have been a little confused because that would have been the first time I've never heard of that one.
Really? Okay. I've heard of it before, and it's not too bad, honestly. But I think I'm crossing poultries here a little bit, which sometimes has an underrated value with it, which is why I'm getting the big, fast receiver who maybe needs a little bit of help running routes like Julio Jones here. But I think once you just get them out on the field and let them be them, they'll develop those out routes. You just got to put the ball in their vicinity. So we're gonna take the stuffing here to go along with our oven roasted chicken.
Here's my question to you: stuffing or dressing?
Yes.
No, there's a difference. I mean, come on now. There's a difference. There's a difference, right?
Oh, I thought you were saying I had to pick one.
No, I mean, yes, you are picking one. Which one of them are you picking? Preference?
Preferably, I'm going to lean towards stuffing, but if someone said we don't do stuffing, we do dressing around here, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, so if those of you don't know, dressing is just cooked outside of not cooked in the turkey or in the animal of your choice. It is just cooked in a open pan and a lot more crispy, usually a lot drier as well. But
that's why I'm leaning stuffing if I have the choice. But like if you tell someone says we only do dressing, then it's like, fine, we'll get the receiver who runs a 4-4 instead of a 4-3. Darn.
A tip for those that don't do stuffing and do dressing: throw a little chicken broth in there, and it will vastly improve. Or if you have leftover juices from the turkey, throw that in there as well. So okay, that is my question as well, though: are we going to caveat dressing with stuffing in the same grouping, or are these two separate things?
I say we call it good. I mean, we just got a Cooking with Kelcey segment during the dinner draft, so we got plenty of alliteration going on. If I'm cool with dressing being separately.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to take it, but I did. It was a consideration for who I'm going to take here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave this one alone. I'm probably going to commit a sin here.
Oh,
and
boy.
What I mean is I'm committing a sin in something that is similar to my other pick, but sweeter, way tastier, comes in a dish as well. Sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows, brown sugar on top with the marshmallows.
Ooh,
as long as the brown sugar's there, marshmallows are you know what? I can do with or without marshmallows as long as the brown sugar's on top. I'm good. But yeah, sweet potato casserole with the brown sugar on top, bare minimum.
That's a good one. That you didn't get that first overall pick quarterback, but you got a darn good later quarterback that might have a pretty strong career and is going to a better situation. So you know what? I like that pick. That's a really good one. I didn't even think about that one. And that's for your dessert spot?
No, that is my alternate. That's my second side.
Oh, that's your second side. Okay.
Yep, that's my second side. That comes out long before the dessert.
You said since you threw in the marshmallows, I had to check if you were going with a little bit unorthodox.
Southern folk love their marshmallows on top of the sweet potato casserole. So
it's fair.
I throw it in there.
Just had to make sure. All right. So I like where we're going with this.
Yeah. So all right. So far I have two sides. I have my mashed potatoes and my sweet potato casserole. And then I have my main with turkey. I have a flex spot and I have a dessert spot open. I feel like I can get my dessert spot no matter what. I'm not worried about losing that. So I think we're good to go another round without saying that. But my flex, I'm a little worried I'd lose my flex here. And like with all good meals and Thanksgiving meals, you have to have not just potatoes and not just meat. You have to have a quality vegetable mixed in there. So for my flex, I'm gonna throw in a quality vegetable, one that I recently stumbled on, and my family's been making fun of me ever since because I never tried it as a kid because I was like, ew, no, it's green. I apologize, but it's bacon wrapped asparagus.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a sneaky good one.
Yeah, bacon wrapped asparagus. I swear to God, family have been making it for years, and I was like, it's asparagus. There's green there. I don't want it. Mind you, I'm talking about the same person who made fun of somebody for shooting a pea out of his nose. So yeah, asparagus, you can't shoot out of your nose. It's not as fun, but when it's wrapped in bacon, it becomes way more fun than anything else. I was also torn. My flex, I thought about going with the second protein, but this kind of does cover both because you get the bacon mixed with the asparagus. So, but yeah, no, I think this is one of the more underrated vegetable sides. And it beats taking a basic green bean casserole into the mix because you might be your next pick. It's a staple in a lot of people's meals. Not in my family personally with the green bean casserole, but For this one, yeah, I think the fried asparagus is what sets us apart a little bit from that basic staple meal.
Absolutely. I like it. That's a really good one. Dude, that's an underrated good one. I'm a big fan of that one. So asparagus, you know what, I feel like that gives you, what do we want to call that? Do we want to call that like the slot receiver for your team right now? Like just something reliable, get first downs, turn it forward.
I think that one's my underrated, reliable slot, receiver. I think sweet potato casserole, I think that's my main receiver out there. Or, I'm gonna say that's my main receiver. I think my mashed potatoes is my high quality tight end. You got my turkey is my offensive line, just powerful, strong.
So your desserts can be your quarterback. We're just gonna see you're building around it. You're building around it. You're building the system. I like it. So
yep.
So we're in snake order. I got my last 2 picks here. Obviously, we got the chicken for the protein. We got that's going to be pre-treated, kind of like my guards. I got the pumpkin pie. That's going to be the quarterback. That's my Anthony Richardson, my CJ Stroud, whatever you want to call it, right there. And now we got a couple more I'm going to get into here. The first one I'm going to go with is, you mentioned it. I'm just going to go with it. It's all reliable. It's that you can't really miss. It's the simple running back, basically, that just runs fast and is a big, strong running back. We're going to go with the green bean casserole. Get something green in there. Get something simple. I just like that as well, too. Now the last one I get is going to be
that, by the way. I needed to say, I said it like there was something wrong with it the first time. And there's nothing wrong with green bean casserole. If that's part of your family's traditions, by all means. Personally, it was never part of my traditions.
When it's done right, it's really good. But it's something, it's the opposite of mashed potatoes. People can screw that up. And when they screw it up, it's like, nope. No,
or you get 7 different variations of it, with because people there's some people you don't know how they cook, and you're like, well, I'll give you something that's easy, but also like we're gonna have multiple variations. So you give those guys the green bean casserole, and then they show up with 7 different green bean casseroles.
Exactly. It's like, as long as you there's ways to screw it up, like people putting raisins in potato salad and things like that, and some people do that. But more when it is done right, it hits completely differently. So that's gonna be that pick. Now my fun luxury pick here. This is my I got the running back, the quarterback, the offensive lineman, the receiver. Now I'm going to have a little bit of fun. This is just my, you know what, if he pans out, he's DK Metcalf type of pick. We're going to go to my flex, and we're going to go with slightly burnt bottom rolls. Where you could slap butter on them. They're very versatile. You could throw a lot of different things on them. That can include croissants if you're kind of on the same thing like it. So we're going to go with rolls here to round out as my fun flex option.
I feel like this needs to be specific. Toasted rolls? Are we talking toasted? Like you put these bad boys in the oven type of rolls?
In the oven with a slight burn on the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
Not black burn, but just a slight burn.
That's an underrated pick. Question: does your family have a particular roll in which they enjoy it, or is it like a yeast roll? Is it a potato roll? Is it a Hawaiian roll? Like, do you have a specific, or have you guys covered the gambit?
Yes, the gambit has been covered. It is all of them and some.
Yeah, we're potato roll family, and it's nothing against yeast rolls or Hawaiian rolls, but they ran out of the Hawaiian rolls. It used to be the family tradition. They ran out of Hawaiian rolls one year when all the family was out in the South, and so Publix ran out, and so they were like, well, what about potato rolls? And so we've been stuck on the Publix potato rolls ever since.
You know what? There's a Publix around the corner. I might have to go try those now. It doesn't sound half bad.
Actually, pretty good. I gotta say they were pretty good. All right, so. You know what? I like the way your team shaped out. You started with the dessert with pumpkin pie. It's a great starting pick. You got chicken. You got stuffing, particularly turkey stuffing, which is important to know. I didn't know if sausage stuffing was a thing, so I'm glad you actually were specific on that. Green bean casserole is staple in every single family. If they're done right, they're done fantastically. And toasted rolls. I love that idea. I considered toasted rolls as my side, but I was like, I feel like I can do better. Just because it is such a simple staple, people overlook it. But honestly, I think about it, and there's always my plate, and there's always a roll with my plate. Although my mom did start making biscuits recently, some buttermilk biscuits, and I gotta say, that's not bad. But I still love me some potato rolls because, most importantly, that next day's lunch.
When you make the sandwiches of either turkey or chicken or whatever you made, it. Oh yeah.
Yep. So,
right, so Mr. Irrelevant for the Thanksgiving dinner draft. The pick is yours, my friend.
Mr. Irrelevant / might be the best pick of my draft so far, just because there are multiple different variations of this. So depending on how your family goes about it, maybe there's a lattice top to it. Maybe there's a nice little sugar lattice top. Maybe you just cover it with another piece of dough. Maybe you have fancy little floury cutouts in it. Maybe use one style of this. Maybe use multiple different variations of the fruit. But I feel like I've tried to allude to this enough without saying the word. It is apple pie. I know this is, the the hot dog apple pie joke about summer in America, blah blah blah. Man, there is nothing better than a warm apple pie as a dessert in Thanksgiving. And you have the perfect suppleness of a pumpkin pie, but then you have that nice little bite of an apple pie. And I think if you use multiple different apples, so if you use a green apple, a red apple, a combination of the two, Fuji apple, I think that's where you get the best apple pie from. And my mom has she uses a recipe with multiple different apples. I think it's 3 different variations of apples. Oh, it's so good because sometimes you get a sweet bite of an apple, sometimes you get the tart Granny Smith. All in all, it's in a warm, beautiful jelly bath that is the apple pie. Honestly, that sounded a little weird to say it out loud, but you know what? It's so good. It's making my mouth water. So yeah, apple pie will be my final pick. And I don't care if you take a German apple pie. I don't care if you take a regular country apple. You know what? All apple pies are a 10 in my book.
Do you throw whipped cream or yogurt or anything on them, or do you just keep them raw as they are?
Oh, absolutely throw some whipped cream. Sometimes ice cream, depending on if we have ice cream available. If it's still warm, throw a little. My grandma's a caramel ice cream fan. She found a local Blue Bunny caramel ice cream. Throw that on top of the already warm apple pie with a little bit of whipped cream. Oh, be unto me, my lord. It is fantastic. It is, one of the best things you ever put in your mouth. And I will stand by that. But I do love me some pumpkin pie too. So I do still think that is, for me, pumpkin pie was my primary dessert option. Apple pie was my backup, but it's because it's a safe, easy backup. I feel like more people love apple pie than pumpkin pie, and that's blasphemous, but it is what it is.
I feel like more people like to be outspoken against pumpkin pie than there's apple pie as well too. I think most people like both of them, but people that don't like apple pie are loudest. They're vegans, basically. They might as well be that. They have to let everybody know they don't like it, just like vegans have to let everybody know they're vegan. Yeah, no offense to the 2 vegans potentially watching.
I also feel like that sums up my entire lineup of dinner. Turkey, you can either have it fantastic if your family knows what they're doing. It's fantastic protein. But then, I mean, alternatively, there's a lot of families out there that don't know how to cook turkey, and so they end up dry and grainy and gross. Mashed potatoes, I do still think that is one that you cannot mess up. I feel like that is the staple of all staples. If you've had a bad mashed potato experience, please let us know, because I am so curious to know how they mess this up.
I would like to see it being made, please.
Yeah. Did they add buttermilk instead of milk, or like what did they do to mess this up? I'm really curious.
Like, did they add skim milk or something, like chunky skim milk? Like, I'm trying to figure it out at this point.
See, here's the thing: even adding skim milk, or maybe even like silk, the silk milk, the almond milk that's flavored, even that can add an extra little flavor to it. That's like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. This is really good.
But chunky though.
Yeah, the chunky part might be the issue.
Emphasis on the chunky.
Yeah, that might be the issue. Sweet potato casserole, I feel like some people love it, some people hate it though. So I don't know, just what it is. Asparagus, I think a lot of people overlook asparagus as a possible side item for Thanksgiving, but bacon wrapped asparagus specifically is where I went, and I think that's just top tier. If you know, you know. And then apple pie, like you said, people are outspoken about it.
I like it. I think what I did with mine too is I picked a couple staples, obvious ones, but then I threw some of those curveballs that people that they might overthink until they actually realize. Like, obviously pumpkin pie and stuffing, 2 of maybe the 4 biggest staples you'll find at Thanksgiving. Throwing in the chicken instead of the turkey, because you can get that in not 17-pound increments. So if it's maybe for 2.5 people, you don't have to get the full turkey.
Oven require 4 days of defrosting beforehand.
Exactly. It doesn't take surgery to figure it out as well, or less likely chance of doing it wrong as well too. For one example, like some people do the turkey. Then you of course throw in green bean casserole, another one of the staples, and those slightly burnt rolls as well. So let us know, everyone listening in, go and let us know in the comments or one of our socials who had the better Thanksgiving dinner draft, and who do you think would win in head-to-head as well? Or do you just kind of want to make both of them and put them together and have the ultimate 10-course Thanksgiving? So that's the case, let us know and invite us over.
Ooh, and
that sounds absolutely glorious. But
I will say, I think before we let him go, I do think as far as the day after meal, I think yours wins hands down, because you have the roll, so you can have a sandwich built in, whereas I would have to supply my own bread.
I mean, you can go. That's fair, I guess. That's fair, I guess. So we'll see. We'll have to see who wins the day of those well too. So let us know in the comments or in any of the social media platforms who you think won this year's Thanksgiving dinner draft. But that's going to do it here for the dinner draft in the main event. And That's lead us into crunch time. And for crunch time, that is brought to you by outlier.bet. Go to outlier.bet /HighLowSports. Get yourself a free 7-day trial. Bet smarter, not harder. And Kelcey, I don't really have a whole lot for crunch time today. Just thankful for everyone listening. Thankful for everyone who spent some time talking about sports with us these last 4 years. And hopefully many more to come. And hopefully everyone enjoys the holiday with their family, friends, and loved ones and everything in between.
Yeah, no, thankful for, you and I still doing the show together. Thankful you once convinced me that maybe we should just do this finally and stop trying to be perfect about it and just do it, and we'll figure it out as we go. Thankful Belly Up,
depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thankful for Belly Up for giving us the opportunity to join the network after our time with Unhinged. Shout out to the guys with Unhinged, still doing their thing strong, having a fantastic time, especially Jim over there with the NAL network, Zach doing his thing with the NAL as well, and the USFL doing a great job. Shout out everybody we've met along the way. It's been a lot of fun. Specifically, thank you to our sponsors, Magic Mind, SeatGeek, Outlier. Shout out Colorcast guys who got us really our big start as well. It's been a fun 4 years so far, and hopefully, like I said, more to come. Lots of great things in the works for next year. Lots of great friends, lots of great contacts we're gonna meet, and who knows, maybe next year you might find us over at a convention somewhere in the U.S. Might actually venture out of our houses once in a while to show our faces, but maybe we'll see.
Go and check out the Fantasy Football Expo next year, where hopefully I don't injure myself. Thankful that I survived that. But that's going to do it this week for the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you all for joining in, and we'll see you all again next time.